Welcome back, everyone. I am so thrilled to have you here for another explainer. Today, we're taking a fascinating and honestly highly practical diagnostic tour of the absolute most complex machine on Earth, your own body. We're going to decode those subtle, everyday signals your health might be trying to send you. Now, I want you to just think about this for a second. What if your body has actually been warning you for months, but you've just been entirely ignoring the signs? Look, it's incredibly easy to brush off those persistent, subtle physical changes, especially when we're all so busy with our daily lives, right? Okay, let's dive into this. The absolute biggest misconception we've got to shatter today is that pain is the only red flag. In reality, so many serious health problems, they don't start with a scream. They start with a whisper. Just these tiny, quiet changes you might not even notice at first. So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, listening to your body. Then, head and face warnings, followed by mouth, skin, and nails. Fourth, systemic and body changes. And finally, taking the next step. All right, let's get into section 1, listening to your body, decoding the signals. Before we look at specific symptoms, we really have to understand why we're so bad at hearing the message in the first place. We just so easily write off small changes as normal wear and tear. Because there's a lack of immediate, sharp pain and the onset is incredibly slow and subtle, we just adapt. But this sets up a kind of dangerous dynamic. We don't actually investigate until the problem is undeniable. Moving right along to section 2, head and face warnings, visual health clues. This is our first stop on the tour, focusing on the visual warnings we can literally see in the mirror. And what's really interesting about this slide is how we pull this incredible misdirection on ourselves. We just instantly excuse dark circles as, oh, I just didn't get enough sleep. But if they persist for a long time, they can actually be linked to much deeper issues like allergies, chronic dehydration, stress, or even an iron deficiency. It's just a perfect example of a hidden signal. Well, we see a very similar story with headaches. Look, an occasional headache is just a normal annoyance, right? Happens to all of us. But frequent, recurring head pain, now that could be a result of chronic dehydration, eye strain, poor sleep, or even high blood pressure. So the big takeaway here is that recurring head pain should never, ever be ignored or just masked with over-the-counter pills. Let's move to and see how this builds in section 3, mouth, skin, and nails. Surface indicators. So these areas of our body are constantly regenerating, which actually makes them fantastic barometers for your overall health. When we get dry skin, our very first instinct is to just blame the weather and grab some moisturizer. But if that isn't helping, it could actually point to a vitamin deficiency, eczema, diabetes, or even a thyroid disorder. The exact same goes for weak or brittle nails, which might indicate iron or protein shortages. And as much as we might try, you definitely cannot fix a systemic thyroid issue with hand lotion. Now, this brilliantly illustrates how the inside of our bodies is just profoundly connected to the outside. Bleeding gums, for instance, are not just normal. Well, sure, they might indicate poor hygiene. They can also signal a vitamin C deficiency. And what about persistent bad breath? Well, it's often so much more than just that garlic you had for lunch. If brushing better doesn't solve it, it could actually be caused by acid reflux, diabetes, or severe digestive issues. This brings us to section 4, systemic and body changes. Full body red flags. We are officially moving away from those localized annoyances to the real heavy hitters now. Let's clearly define what we mean here. A systemic symptom is an issue that affects the entire body, rather than just a single organ or part. Honestly, this definition really raises the stakes. Because when we start seeing systemic symptoms, it's an incredibly powerful indicator that your internal organs or your overall metabolic functions are under some serious stress. So the crucial point is distinguishing between, normal exhaustion and something much more serious. Feeling tired after a long day at work? Totally normal. But constant fatigue, like being utterly exhausted even after you've had plenty of sleep, is absolutely not. That kind of persistent fatigue is your body literally turning on its check engine light, signaling potential anemia, thyroid problems, diabetes, or even severe vitamin deficiencies. And we see exactly the same dynamic with thirst. Being thirsty after a rigorous workout is perfectly fine, of course, but an unquenchable, constant, excessive thirst. Look, while drinking water is obviously great for you, feeling like you can just never get enough is a classic systemic alarm. It can actually be an early sign of diabetes, severe chronic dehydration, or even underlying kidney problems.
And for sure, we cannot ignore these highly dramatic physical shifts. I mean, unexpected weight gain or loss, especially when you haven't changed your routine at all, is a massive red flag for hormonal imbalances, thyroid disease, or diabetes. And what about swollen feet or ankles? Occasional swelling happens, sure, but frequent swelling could be linked to heart disease, kidney or liver problems, or poor circulation. Ignoring rapid changes like these is a bad idea because they are urgent signs of internal distress that could delay incredibly important medical treatments. All right, let's wrap this up with Section 5, taking the next step, proactive health. Now that we've gone through our little diagnostic tour, it's time to focus on resolution and empowerment. I want to just pause for a second on this quote from our source material: "Your body constantly communicates with you." That is such a powerful takeaway. These early warnings, subtle shifts in your skin, your energy levels, or your nails, they are a feature of your biology, not a bug. And the sooner you notice them, the better your chances are of getting ahead of them. Now, actually, I want to be perfectly clear about something. Seeing these signs is absolutely not a reason to panic. These symptoms are just invitations to look closer. They are not automatic guarantees of some serious disease. But if they do persist, it simply means it's time to get a professional checkup. Just be proactive, listen to the signals, and of course, consult a qualified healthcare professional. So I'll leave you with this final kind of provocative thought to ponder. What is your body trying to tell you today? Pay attention to those quiet alarms. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep listening, keep learning, and as always, stay healthy out there.